Good morning, good day, good afternoon, everybody. We're about to start. We will wait for the other ones to connect in a few minutes. Welcome to this 8th webinar from the community of Oceania Geospatial, the Water Resource Workgroup. And today we will be talking about the Pacific Island water resources, especially around databases and data availability. I'm Pearl Winchester, and I'm the animator with Nicolas Matthieu of this Water Resources Workgroup. So Nicolas won't be able to connect today, and I'm sorry about that. And if you could please, as always, give us your name, role, and country in the chat, just so we know where you're coming from. It would be great. So I'm very happy today to have Mikko from the Philippines. And so I'm going to leave the floor to Mikko to introduce himself, and then to Matthieu and Anne to introduce themselves also from French Polynesia. Sorry. Mikko, if you could please put up your camera and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I hope you're able to see me. I'm not sure if you can see me. Here, I think it's working now. Yeah, so hi everyone. So I'm Mikko, I'm from the Philippines. I'm working as the Regional Community Manager at the Open Mapping Hub Asia Pacific, or more known as the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. And I'm very much looking forward to sharing open app data or resources to everyone here in this call.
Thank you, Mikko. Matthieu and Anne, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Anne, and this is Matthieu. So we're based in French Polynesia in the Pacific, and we work for a company called Natura, which Matthieu created back in 2011.
Thank you. And so just a quick reminder, but I know that everybody knows about it already. The community of Oceania Geospatial Water Resource Workgroup, our aim is to share information and knowledge for the best benefit of our Pacific Island countries and territories around the geospatial field, especially around water resources. And this is the topics that we try to share around, but it's not an exhaustive list. We have been also talking lately about artificial intelligence and groundwater. We will talk about groundwater again next time. And so this work group is open to everyone, public and private sector alike. So feel free to share it around you. And I think we are ready, actually, for Mikko to start. So, Mikko, I'm going to give you the floor and stop sharing my screen. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Can you confirm that my screen is visible? Yes. Okay, look. So, yes. Good day, everyone. I'm excited. Excuse me. Sorry. So I'm excited to share with you how open mapping, especially the OpenStreetMap, can support climate advocacy and improve access to critical water data in the Pacific Islands. So we'll spotlight some cases, demonstrate how to access data or download the data, and explore tools useful for climate resilience mapping. So in the Pacific Islands, as we all know, water is not just, and even all over the world, water is not just a basic need. It's a matter of survival. These are some of the most climate vulnerable places on Earth. And as sea level rise, many low-lying islands are already facing critical saltwater intrusion into freshwater aquifers. So this affects everything in the community. So from drinking water, access to food security, and community health. On top of this, we're seeing an increase in We're already facing extreme climate events, stronger cyclones, irregular rainfall, and longer drought. So these directly affect both quality and quantity of water in this sense. And yet, despite the urgency, water-related data is still limited, it's still fragmented, it's still inaccessible in many parts of Oceania. That's why open mapping, open data tools like OpenStreetMap, I hope some of you are aware of OSM or OpenStreetMap, can be very transformative in this process. They allow us to crowdsource, visualize, and share vital information about water access points, river systems, and even flood-prone zones. In this webinar or in this session I'm going to share, we'll look at how open tools or open mapping tools can help us address this data gap and empower local climate advocates, decision makers, community responders to act with better information. Okay, so where do we get water data? Pretty much this is a very important question that we need to also raise. Water data can come from many places. Government ministries and disaster agencies often lead national surveys. Academic institutions or NGOs may also conduct hydrographic or infrastructure assessments. But increasingly, open platforms like what I've been sharing, OpenStreetMap, OSM, MapSwipe, Kobo Toolbox, allow communities to collect and share their own data. So these are some familiar tools, some are new tools. So if you have free time, feel free to visit their websites and search for them. These participatory approaches are not only cost effective, they're open, they're free. They're also ensure that local voices and realities are reflected in the data we use for planning and especially action. And of course, one thing that I've been advocating all of my career is OpenStreetMap or OSM. So OSM, for those who are not familiar with it, is a free and editable map of the world built by volunteers. So the volunteer part is very essential here because anyone who has access to the internet can log in to OpenStreetMap, map, add features like rivers, tanks, or pipelines, even in rural or hard-to-reach areas. So OpenStreetMap is especially powerful in the Pacific Islands, where formal data may be missing, lacking, or having gaps. OSM allows communities and mappers to visualize and improve coverage for climate and weather and water infrastructure. So here are some examples of things that you can map in OpenStreetMap. So in OSM, water features aren't limited to just your natural rivers, streams, etc. In OSM, when you log in, you can map boreholes, community water taps, irrigation systems, and even storm drains. These features are tagged using simple global standards that help keep the map consistent. And what's important is that these information can be hyperlocal. It can be mapped at the level of your village, your island, or your just school community or school vicinity water tank. So I'm going to share some tools that I use in downloading OSM data. So I mentioned that you can actually map on OpenStreetMap. So you can just visit YouTube and there are tutorials there. Very easy to teach you how to map on OSM. But I think one thing that I'd like to emphasize here in this session of mine is how you could use OSM because anything and everything that's on OSM is pretty much downloadable. So let me walk you through how to extract water-related data using first my favorite Overpass Turbo, a tool built for OSM data access. So I'll just leave the instructions here. Feel free to share Pearl my slides later on. But yeah, visit the website and you have this kind of tag that you need to understand that it's pretty much your query trigger. So for example, this one, so I'm looking for amenity equals drinking water points in Fiji, for example. So this tag is very essential for me. So please take note. And each thing that you want to map or is mapped on OSM has a different tag. So pretty much it's very straightforward. Let me just jump here. Okay. So this is an example. Let me just open it new. So pretty much it opens you into this world map, and you just need to feel free to focus on the area you want to be mapped. So I mentioned that the tag was very important. So when you click on wizard, this is where you just put in the tag. So here, for example, I would want to look at waterway or rivers in Fiji. So since the area in my screen is already there, so I'll just build and run the query. And then it gives me all the river data that's on OpenStreetMap in Fiji. So when this is already loaded, all you can do is just click on export and then choose the shapefile or the type of file you'd want to download. So whether it's JSON, KML, GPX, just click on it and it downloads automatically. So similar, it's very nice to look to use other tags. So let's try man-made storage tank. These are maybe water storage points. So when I run it, you can pretty much see your water storage points in Fiji. So it's pretty much give and take. So if there's data, you'll be able to download. So that's why in every mapping project I work in, I make sure that there's a backup somewhere on OpenStreetMap so that it could be able to be used by others. One last thing, let's try water equals pond so that we could look at areas where there's water, where there are ponds in Fiji. So yeah, so here you can see that what data is available. Another tool I usually use is the hot export tool. This is for custom downloads. So I'll just walk you through it. But in this case, the hot export tool, it is also open, free, and user-friendly platform where anyone can select a region and then export OSM data. So just important here is that you need to log in first. So let me try logging in. So I'm logged in already with my OpenStreetMap account. And then you click on Start Exploring. Here you need to put your name, let's say Fiji, water points, add a description, a project name, etc. We can zoom in to the area that we want downloaded. So for in this case, I can draw or click on a box. Yeah, for example, this one, that's my area of interest. You can do it all over the world. You need to choose the formats. For example, I want Shapefile, GeoPackage, Google Earth, and then next. And then here in this data tab, you can now select water if you want to pull out all the water data like dam, reservoir, floodgate, drainage, etc. And then just click on next. You have also other options here, but when you click on create export, it just gives you an idea of give me one sec, let me just. So it says that my area is too big. So if we zoom in a bit, maybe or fix it later. Yeah, when you click on create export, it allows you to be informed that your download is ready later on. So it tells you that it processes it and then you can download it later on with the shape files or the settings that you've worked on. So this is very useful and very useful for planning, advocacy, and responding to water-related emergencies in remote and underserved areas. So let me just go back to my slide very quickly. So also in the Pacific, open mapping isn't just a technical activity. It's also a community movement like this one. Let's take a moment to also celebrate two inspiring groups that I've been very blessed to meet. OSM Fiji has been instrumental in mapping the urban and rural landscapes of Fiji, especially for disaster response. So they're the ones responsible why OSM or why the OSM data in Fiji is much more complete compared to relatively to other island countries in Oceania because they've been really working the past few years training local youth, partnered with the RR agencies and supporting climate resilience efforts through OSM. The other group I'd like to mention is the Kiribati Women in Mapping, which is leading the way in building inclusive mapping communities, especially with women in Kiribati. So this group empowers local women to learn digital mapping tools and apply them for climate change adaptation. So these groups show that when local communities lead the process, mapping becomes more meaningful, inclusive, sustainable, and that's exactly the kind of energy we want to support more across in the Pacific. So moving forward, one of the biggest challenges that we're still encountering, especially in the open mapping community in the Pacific, in the Oceania, one is inconsistency. So many islands still lack accurate or recent water point data, but this is also an opportunity through school partnerships, NGO engagement, and youth training. We can build a culture of open data contribution to everyone. So, and every map edit also ensures that we bring us closer to informed decision making for climate resilience. So I think pretty much that's it. Before I wrap things up, I invite you to join us in this movement. The Mapping Hub Asia Pacific regularly trains new mappers, especially youth and communities on the front lines of climate change. So our champions, we call them the open mapping gurus, are here to also mentor, support, and grow local expertise. So we do have that network of geospatial open mappers and humanitarian mappers in this sense. Whether you're a student, NGO worker, local community planner, or policymaker, your local knowledge matters. And let's work together to map water for resilience and justice in the Pacific. So pretty much that's it. I'll just share our social media accounts in Facebook, LinkedIn, and email address here. Yeah, and if you have an idea of wanting to do a mapathon, feel free to reach out to me. Yes, that's it. Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mikko. I will share your these links a bit later. I didn't pasted them yet, so I will share them later. I wonder if anybody has a question for Mikko already here, because I have many, but I don't want to be the first one to ask a question to Mikko. Matthieu, Anne, or Matt, do you have any questions? No, I do. So, Mikko, the first one I have is, do you actually have some experience where they actually used OpenStreetMap in participative science on the field, and especially for water maybe, but for anything else where they actually did it really like on the field?
One experience I'd like to bring up is a recent project we worked on maybe a year ago in India. So what we did is that using OpenStreetMap or the hot tasking manager tools and apps like this open mapping tools, we were able to actually locate fish ponds in a very drought affected area in India. And a local NGO actually once, a local NGO called Hasero Aqua, they use the data in order to efficiently identify and to make sure that that measures they're able to develop drought resistant measures to preserve water resources in their region in India. So yes, though skeptical or though because it's open, a lot of people actually doubt the use of OpenStreetMap. But when there's data coming in and supported by organizations, government, using OSM data and uh, putting it in the process of citizen science, it becomes more credible in that sense that that it's able to provide you better results in decision making, in data analysis, etc. So I think also one useful or strong use case that I'd like to bring up, especially using OSM data or this community approach or citizen science, is in the Philippines. Here in my country, we use OSM to identify risk, especially the school locations, evacuation centers, etc. Um, we use that in order for us to prepare better in flood risk analysis, because compared to our government data or the credible or the complete data according to them, the OSM data pretty much is very far in completion. So yeah, so though it's skeptical with the quality, like I think that's where you bring in your geospatial to processes to clean, to validate, to make sure your data is clean. But yeah, I think the OSM has been a very reliable repository to refer to validate data, and as an add-on to become one of your sources or reference sources. Yeah, I think, yeah.
I see. You actually have a question from Nicholas. He was wondering if your team members will be attending the FOSS 4G in Auckland at the end of the year.
Secret, no, just kidding. Yeah, I'm planning to visit, yeah, Nicolas. So I hope I can meet you. If you find a small guy with a small Asian guy or Filipino guy in Phosphor G that's very noisy, you've seen me. Just approach Nicolas. I look forward to it. Thank you.
That's good. And I had one last question for you. You said that we can, get some training with the gurus. But how do we actually get the training? Is it like online webinars? How do we?
On that note, yeah, usually it's online webinars we could schedule, or and then you do have those gurus, like if there's interest for you, like for example time zone or local speaker, like we do have those special people in our network who'd be more than happy to share training about how to map an OpenStreetMap, tasking manager, those simple tools, etc. But yeah, definitely I'd be more than happy to also assist in those trainings.
Thank you, Mikko. This is great. All right, I'm gonna take the floor again. Share my screen again. Oh, you need to stop sharing yours. There you go. Up. Merci. Up here. Because I had the questions we did. I had a quick interaction ready, and Matthieu, Anne, and Mikko, and Nicolas, you can actually participate also, and I will also participate. It's on Menti, so I will share the link in the chat if it's easier for you. But you can normally scan the QR code, it's working also. And I will give the floor straight away to Matthieu and Anne for the next intervention. Did everybody get the link for Menti at the time to actually scan the QR code? Except me, of course, I didn't take the time to do it. Up. There we go. All right. So Anne and Matthieu, if you're ready to introduce yourself, and I leave you the floor.
Okay, thanks a lot, Phil. We'll just share our screen as well. Okay, so everybody should see it's full size, I hope.
It's working.
It's working? Very good. Well, thanks a lot for the opportunity to present HP, which is a new hydrological database for the Pacific. And magandang umaga, Mikko. I lived in the Philippines for a while, so I'm very pleased to hear the Filipino accent again. It's very nice. So we'd like to talk about that new database, hydrological database. It's how it came about, what it does, and what opportunities there are now to use it in the Pacific. So just a few words about Natura. Matthieu is next to me here. He's the founder and owner of Natura, which was incorporated in 2011 in French Polynesia. Our offices are in Tahiti, in French Polynesia, and we're mainly a hydrological consultancy company. We've got 4 major components of what we do, the main being hydrological and hydraulic studies, of course. We also have specialized in the past 7 years in studying freshwater lenses in atolls, because as you may know, French Polynesia has 20% of the world's atolls, and particularly inhabited atolls. We do also river modeling, 2D and 3D modeling. And last but not least, we develop hydrological data management solutions, which is what we're going to talk about today. So one can wonder, why do we need to collect hydrological data for? Most of you already know, but I guess it's always good to put it into words again. Well, the first one is we need to anticipate, we need to be prepared. And for that, we need to have data. So we know how the weather is evolving, especially in the climate change context. And then we can inform decision makers about what's happening and what they need to do, what kind of decisions they need to take in order to be prepared and to reduce and mitigate the risks, especially in accordance with development projects, whether they can deliver approvals or not. Then it's also to manage conflicts between different users. For example, the ones that would want to use water for, for drinking or for agriculture or for electricity, with hydroelectricity. So it's very important to know what is the availability of water and how it evolves over time. And lastly, of course, is to raise awareness among the greater public and promote best practices. Very important. So different instruments collect different types of time series data that you can see here. Rainfall, of course, being the main one, where you also have surface water flow, mainly in volcanic islands in the Pacific, with rivers. And then in atolls, of course, groundwater, but not just atolls in volcanic islands. And of course, all the weather-related data, the climates. Well, the question is, okay, we have instruments, we can collect that data, but then what do we do with it? And how do we manage it all is the main question. What we've seen and what everybody has seen in the Pacific has come across is that there are very common data issues, which are summarized in 3 points. The first one is data disparity, because oftentimes the different types of time series data, which I talked about before, are collected by different entities who don't really talk to each other, and they don't really collect it in the same format. So that means that then you can't actually compare this data and have a good vision of what's happening. The second one is, because of that, and because of the way it's collected, and because of the lack of really user-friendly database, oftentimes it just sits either in a shelf or in a database, but it's not really analyzed or used for decision-making. So that's due to a lack of competence, a lack of means, a lack of time. Oftentimes hydrological services are very, very busy because they've got to do too many things and they're understaffed. And so we have all the data sitting there, and it's sitting there for nothing, and it costs a lot to collect, so it's a bit of a shame. And so all this leads to a lack of overall vision, with fragmented vision of water-related issues for decision makers. So what solutions do we have to overcome these issues? Well, the first one is we need to design and implement a digital platform that stores hydrological data stemming from any form, so different formats. Second one is that database needs to be really user-friendly, so that people who don't have time, who are a bit, afraid of technical stuff, can still use it and analyze it very easily. And also, it's very important that it provides optimal and appropriate IT security, so we're sure that we're not going to lose the data. And the third one is that this platform can then be used to inform decision makers quickly and accurately, because it is easy to use. So this is what the 3 French territories in the Pacific, New Caledonia, French Polynesia, and Wallis and Futuna, identified as a need back in 2020, 2021. And they said, well, we actually need this type of platform, so we need to design and come up with a digital platform to store and consult hydrological data. And the lucky thing is there was European funds coming in, and it's a regional development fund that is available for the 3 territories. So they all said, we're going to have a common database, a common interface, but that's going to cater for various needs, because we have very different ways of collecting data, very different needs, and very different contexts. So then they published a tender, and Natura responded to it, and there was a contract, and then the platform was developed for 2 full years between 2022 and 2024, and there was intense development of it. And so back in early in 2025, there was a launch of Hydropacifique, which you can see here, and it was developed to be very user-friendly with quick calculations interactive maps and graphs. The important thing in that it manages billions of data. So even if you have lots and lots of historical data, it can still manage it very quickly. And so that creates immense gains in productivity, efficiency, and information quality. So just 2 words on basic principles. So one thing that we need to know is it's not a software, it's all online. So it's very important for hydrological services in public services where they have a lot of constraints in terms of IT and they cannot download new softwares. And so here you just need to go online, log in, and here you go, you can access and use it. Of course, you need an internet connection. But if you're in the field and you don't have an internet connection, which often happens in the Pacific, in remote areas, you can still use it in the nomad version and collect your data. And then as soon as you get back to your office and you get internet connection again, it sends it through. So in terms of features, there was a lot of work with the 3 territories so that it catered for all their needs and what they had identified as what they wanted. So first, you can import your data, you can correct it, which is quite an important thing that not all databases do. There's a cartography component, and actually Mikko OpenStreetMap is used in this database. There are also interactive graphs, which you can zoom in, zoom out, correct, change the colors and all of that. You can also edit time series and create statistics, which is of course very important for analysis. You can manage your field team and your rotations, have activity reports for each station, and then of course you can export the data that you've been working with. So that's the different types of data and time series that is presently catered for under Hydropacifique. So of course, you know, all the rainfall and stream flow and groundwater data and all the corrected data. There is an interactive map that looks like that. And when Matthieu was doing training, because he's the one who developed it from scratch, and then he tried to train all the different agents from the 3 Pacific territories, he realized that people were very visual and they're very attracted to the maps. So it's the main interface, that the thing you go to in the landing page. You want to go to your station, you want to see what it does, and then you access the data through that means. That's one way to access the data. There's also station cards. So here you can see for each station what kind of data is associated with it, what kind of the raw data, the corrected data, the poly codes for each of the data sets. And then you have photos and also all info related to the station. And not many databases enable that at this point. So 2 quick examples of what you can do with that. For example, if you want to monitor your river and make sure that you're prepared for any flood events or drought, for example, where you can plot all your data, rainfall data. So here on the first graph on the left-hand side, you can see in blue on the top, you can see all the rainfall data. And in green, you can see all the flow data, the river flow data. And then you can see straight away the correlation between the 2 and how it happened and in what time. And then you can zoom in and zoom out of it and just select the data set that you want. So it's very user-friendly. On the right-hand side, you can see all your gauging data. So if you know a little bit about hydrology, you know what gauging is. It's something that you do on rivers and it's essential to have your river flow data in the end. So you can actually input that here and you can visualize your river shape as well. Cross-section, sorry. And then at the bottom, you can see the calibration rates. So that means that you can transform water flow level data into flow rates. And that's where you can see it. So that's it's a bit technical, but if you know a little bit about hydrology, you will know what that is about. So a second case study is if you want to monitor a freshwater land on an atoll. So here we've got an atoll that was instrumented through 7 wells a few years back. So you can see the well on the map. And here you can see the data stemming from it. So here is the water levels for each of the wells. Just over a few days, so you can see how the ocean is impacting the water levels, of course, because that's marée. I don't know. I've got a blank of how you say it in English, but you know what I mean. I hope. And here you can see all the data that is connected to these wells, and all the waves that you see, the different colors of waves, are all the salinity in the different wells. And then you can see how it correlates to rainfall, which is plotted on the top. And you can see here the transition zone, which means it's a limit between salt water and fresh water, and potability zone, which is the limit between drinking water and fresh water that is not drinkable in the long term. And so in a very quick manner, you can see, you know, all this data, and you can use it to make decisions. So in terms of lesson learned and best practices, we identify 2 types of best practices and 4 tips. So first best practice is that this database we think works really well because it was developed by and for hydrologists. So Matthieu here is a developer, an IT developer, but he's also a hydrologist, so he understands both. And he was working closely with hydrological services from New Caledonia, Wallis and Futuna, and French Polynesia to make sure that all their needs were catered for. And so I think that's an important thing for a hydrological database. Second thing is that, as I said, it was developed closely with the Pacific Territories Hydrological Services. And in terms of tip, what we reckon is that first, a high level of data access and security is crucial, because otherwise, you know, everybody's going to be very afraid of losing the data. And it's very important to look into it and make sure that any database provides for that. And for that, the server capacity and location is very important. So that's something that needs to be checked. Because we have an example in French Polynesia where there was a big database was not a hydrological database, but another type of database that was quite dysfunctional because the server was located in French Polynesia, and that actually didn't work very well, and it created all sorts of issues. So once they changed the server locations, all these issues were wavered. The third tip is that you need to look for a product that is easy to use and handle, and that allows you to remove a lot of headaches. For example, you know, downloading a software might be an issue for a lot of agents, or you know, something that is too difficult and needs a lot of training will actually cost a lot of money, even if to acquire it it's not very expensive. And the fourth tip is that the database should not only integrate automatic time series data, but also data collected punctually in the field regarding hydrological stations. And at this point, no hydrological database allows for that. And there was a very strong requirement for New Caledonia in particular. So that's it. And just a few teasers, what we're working on now and what we'd like to develop is new modules for hydraulic structures. So that's dams, weirs, bridges, stuff like that, which is very important to understand how water behaves and where the risks are. Advanced statistics for your analysis, flood alerts, like automatic flood alerts, when data is transmitted automatically by teletransmitted. API development, which will allow integration with other softwares. A water quality module, because at this point it's not in already, but that's also a very important thing that would enable a global vision of water-related issues. And lastly, but not least, a cultural module, which will integrate historical and traditional knowledge linked to a site. So especially for the Pacific, we think that would be a very interesting module to add on to. And with that, thank you very much for your attention, and we are available for any questions, of course. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Anne and Matthieu. Yes, thank you very much for this very precise and complete presentation. I don't know if anybody has some questions. Mikko, you're allowed to ask questions too if you want. So you had two. Yeah, can you see the questions on the chat, Matthieu and Anne? There's one from
well, I just
Nicolas.
saw Maël's question about setup, which is a program in French Polynesia by Maël. So you do work for DAG, Maël, okay. Yeah, so we're not involved in setup at this stage, but we're very interested in being involved. And we have worked and we have a lot of data on freshwater lenses in many of the atolls, and we think that could be very interesting to share. DAG already has a lot of that data because they were the ones who asked for it and who asked for the study. But yeah, no, at this stage, we're not officially implicated in the setup program.
And what is setup exactly?
Yeah, and we know CC Conta. Setup, so it's a program that it's a 5 million euros program, so it's quite a big thing. And I will let maybe Maël, if she can talk. Can she?
Yeah.
Can she
Maël, if you can just tell us what is setup, please.
As I understood, setup is to collect data from Tuamotu Islands, 11 atolls, to use the lenses, the water lenses, to aliment agriculture.
Okay, thanks, Maël. And yeah, actually, Nicolas didn't have a question. I had a question for you. It's the technical questions. I would say, what was, to your mind, the biggest difficulty in the HP project for you? The biggest one, if somebody, like if another country would like to join HP and have access to the platform to store their own data, what to expect as the main difficulty?
So we just had to agree.
Yeah, I'm sorry about it. It's my project and I'll prefer hand evidence in place of me.
Yeah, so I think there are two main ones. The first one is what does the data look like and where is it? That's, because we've already talked with SPC about that, and they said this is one important issue because sometimes they don't even know where it is, and the format is, very difficult. It hasn't been corrected for ages, and so it's very messy.
Okay.
And you can't easily integrate a very messy set of data into Hydropacifique. It needs to be corrected first. Well, at least, cleaned up first, I would say.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that there needs to be a will from the agents working in hydrological services to start using a new interface. Sometimes it takes a bit of time for people to get used to a new way of working. And so I guess that's the second thing that I would see as a constraint.
Thank you. That's perfect. All right. I am about to share with you the results from the quick survey, and what I'm gonna do is actually to leave open the Mentimeter for a few days. And so I don't know if you can see my screen. But the question was, how easy is it to measure, store, access, and use water-related data in your country? And I think you saw that I put all the steps kind of in the order between field measurement all the way to the decision-making and the use and reuse of the data. And so with the 4 people answering, we can see that for now in the Pacific Islands, the biggest issue is still to get the equipment and the probes. And then the second one is actually the skill. So it's human skills for the field and human skills for evaluation and validation. We can always find, I guess, solutions for the banking, the servers, the softwares. For data sharing, you have shown us how the map can actually help everybody understand where they are and where is the data available. So it's definitely a lot of help. It's really helping. And then in between, you have the data use and reuse. with the decision making. So this is a quick snapshot. I will leave this survey open and share it on LinkedIn. And I want to thank you again, Matthieu and Anne from Natura for this work, because I have seen the launch of it and I'm really happy to see how it is now. Like, what great job you did, guys. So really, thank you so much for holding this project all the way to the top. And just to wrap up, what is next for water resource in a community of Oceania Geospatial? We have our next webinar next month, and we will be talking about actually water monitoring with a focus on groundwater and hydrogeology. So I will put the link to register in the chat. In September, we will do an online training on mode flow with Chris Leong. So this is something we are still organizing, trying to get a physical training, an access of a physical training with an online broadcasting. So more people from more islands can actually learn how to use this open source software for hydrogeology. We will talk about wastewater and reuse in October, and then you have some other global events that are already planned, so I put them here. As Nicolas said earlier, there's also the Force 4G in Auckland, and I'm pretty sure it's in November. And so if you want to just stay updated with what's going on, it's on our channel. So right now, I'm going to share straight away the links for the registration, and then to get into the work group if you don't know it already. Where's the chat? Right here. Up. All right. And I really want to thank you, and especially Mikko from the Philippines. As I told you earlier, it's the first one we have somebody from the Philippines that is actually a speaker, but also just being in the audience. So thank you so much, Mikko, for being with us today. And thank you, Matthieu and Anne, for also presenting this great work. And I hope you enjoyed this exercise. Merci beaucoup. Maël, thank you for being with us all this time. And that's it. Merci beaucoup.